Hey, welcome back to Fake Deep Take. It's been a long while. Let's introduce the crew and explain why we've been gone for a while. We got John,
Yo.
Doc,
Yo.
Ian in the figurative back,
Yo.
and myself, Eugene. So we've been missing out because it is South by Southwest here in Texas, and Doc always volunteers. So he's been kind of busy doing that. He was telling us about it a little bit while Ian was getting things set up. Oh, and I forgot to mute this, and I got this sound in my ear. And we are finally back. We're gonna go back on Mondays, right, Doc?
Yeah. From now on, we'll be
Yeah,
back to your
yeah,
regular syndicated schedule.
yeah. We'll be back on Mondays now. We had a little bit of confusion getting today going, but everything's are good. We're back to regular schedule, talking about some fun topics. And today we have two very viral topics that went a little bit crazy. The first one we're going to talk about is a fight that went viral, and this was the Kylie Gain fight. So if y'all haven't heard or seen the video, I think this video on this New York Post has a short little snippet of it with some information. We'll probably watch that, but it was a fight that went viral and caused a bit of an uproar, I would say. So we're going to watch this and react to it. So go ahead and play it, Ian. Warning, graphic content, as it says right there. So as you saw there, it was a fight. Girl ended up bashing her head against the ground, concrete ground. In the hospital, from my understanding to this point, she still hasn't woken up. The girl has been, as you saw there, arrested, and they're arguing to try her as an adult. I think that's where the controversy, why this went viral, was because people want the girl to be tried as an adult, and also the brutality of the attack. Some context to this: the 15-year-old girl, I mean, let's just be blunt here, the white girl, she apparently swung first. Apparently, from the context I've found, and I think a little bit of an extended clip than what they showed, the girl ended up like approaching the black girl first, and she did swing first. So the argument that has being had now is, was it self-defense for the black girl? And if it was self-defense, did she take it too far? I mean, I think it's kind of obvious she took it too far, but I think what people are upset about is some who are arguing self-defense seem to have a lack of some kind of, I guess, remorse. I don't know the sentiment, but when I see the arguments people are having, it's like they selective compassion is what they're arguing, I guess, is what they would say. The selective compassion they point out. So I guess I
What
don't know
state was
why
this?
Missouri. Yeah, let me read this article real quick. I guess I don't know what else to read. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I guess get a little bit of insight if anything else. So the Missouri teen who was mercilessly beaten after school early this month has yet to regain consciousness 10 days after the incident. Her stricken parents revealed in their first public statement Monday. Kylie Gain, 16, had her head repeatedly pounded on the pavement in the stomach-churning March 8th assault near Hazelwood East High School in Spanish Lake MO outside St. Louis. She suffered a fractured skull, resulting in life-threatening brain swelling and bleeding, according to family attorney Brian Kamerer. The full scope and extent of Kaylee's injuries and prognosis of recovery cannot be determined until, with God's grace, she regains consciousness, and the family asks that she continue to keep Kylie in her thoughts and prayers as she continues to recover. An attorney for Gaines combatant also released a statement Monday asserting that his honor roll client is in the school orchestra and a member of the volleyball team. Okay, so that's the other girl's attorney that's saying that. Okay. I believe all of the facts and circumstances of this incident are not appropriate to discuss at the time when another child is in a critical condition. Gregory Smith said, those facts and circumstances will have their day in court. I join the call to denounce teen violence and bullying, and most importantly, I join my client and her family in extending our prayers for this family and their child. That's another context. Apparently, the black girl was bullying the white girl, and I guess this particular situation, she finally decided to stand up for herself. That's apparently the claim being made. Don't know if that's true. Um, I to be honest, my take, and I'll open up to y'all, is one, yes, obviously the girl that bashed her head went too far. That was wild. Like you literally heard her head hitting the pavement, and that was a very uncomfortable thing to hear. Um, Two, also to be acknowledged, obviously this incident is being hyped up in the media because it is a black girl beating on a white girl. And as John loves to point out with my arguments when it comes to pointing out how there's not a discrepancy, there's a discrepancy of certain things being shown. Obviously, like this is a situation where they're hyping this up to prove their point also. I acknowledge that. That's very apparent here too. So that's my takes from this. It's obvious. Everything's just obvious.
I mean, all I'm thinking is that like the girl might die. My friend suffered a head injury like that, and he passed away from it because similar case, he was in a coma for an extended period of time, and then while he was in the coma, the fracture caused an air bubble, and then that's basically just what did him in. So she has a likelihood of passing away, which is pretty messed up. I've also actually ironically seen, well, not ironically, but like I've also seen a school fight like that played out like this, but the teacher broke it up after like two or three like head pounds, but there was like nobody here to do that, so she just kind of like kept getting turned in.
How many head pounds was it? It looked like it only took like because those were like
Those were
like
heavy. Yeah,
those were
those were heavy.
heavy, bro. Like
Yeah, they were really
oh,
heavy handed. The the incident I remember when I was in high school. I remember the mom of that girl that got her head put into the ground showed up to the school with like a massive monkey wrench or something, and she was looking for like the other girl.
damn.
It was weird. Like I remember the cops had to like stop the lady from getting into the school. But like going back to this, like I can understand why they would try her as an adult because of the situation, because of the like you said, the violence is just warranted like a higher harm level.
I mean,
And
she's potentially gonna die from this, like you said. Like if
yeah, if she
what she
dies,
got,
it's even
yeah,
worse. It,
yeah.
it'll be like involuntary manslaughter or something like that. Uh, I don't know, man. Missouri, like I don't know what the rules are. Like if because you know how Texas has like really weird castle laws, like you can't shoot somebody in the back if you know if they're escaping your house, even though it's like your property. Like I don't know if Missouri has a weird law like that where like if you defend yourself but too much, you step
Yeah,
on like the line
there
or
is.
something like that.
I don't know exactly how it's worded, but there is an excessive like force when it comes to defend yourself. Like if you're like you don't have like what she did. There was a
Yeah,
point where she gained control, and then she went further once she
further.
gained that control. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean they're probably gonna take that into account, and then like I don't think she does, but if like the woman or the girl has any kind of like background in like self defense, then they're also gonna take that into account. Like I know in Texas,
Well,
if you
if
have
she has been bullying her too, if she has a history of like fighting, like that also might be taken into account too.
true, but that might go for the other person. Like it might swing the case in the other
Oh, I see
person's
what you're saying.
favor.
Like, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like a history of bullying, and this one time she just tries to defend herself. It just this other girl just overdoes it. It's gonna swing the case totally in the victim's favor, um, or at least turn them further into a victim. Tough call, man. But yeah, it's pretty fucked up. And poor girl. Like,
She should go to jail. She should go to jail.
I
That's
mean,
it. She should go to
it
jail.
it kind of definitely seems that way. Like I said, I just don't know what their lawyers arguing or what the like intense logic of it is going to be.
Well, I guess it kind of goes back to a point I made before. If I could tie this into that, which was,
She was high
w-
off that crown. That crown. She was high off that crown and got amped up. She need to go to jail.
yeah, the point I want to make is we haven't really cultivated a culture where we know how to properly express our anger or just express violence. Because let's be like we're violent; it's in our nature. At the end of the day, we're like we can. I maybe I'm nihilistic to say this, but I don't think we can escape that we do have a violent nature to us, and we need a healthy way of expressing that. And I I don't know if this would have solved this situation, but I feel like if there was a way for people to like, I want to fight you, let's go through these channels to facilitate this. Okay, let's put you in a ring, or for my case, like a mat with wrestling. Let's put you in these avenues and just get out of your system. Because I just think this bottling it up, you get situations like this where like I don't where it explodes. Like that's the best. I don't know. Like, and it got to take into account like their kids. Kids don't know how to properly like I guess control or handle those s- emo- emotions. Like I wasn't much of a fighter growing up. I was not in fights like that, but I've been around fights like that. And yeah, John's right. When you're young like that, like you hear the crowd like, "Oh, hyping you up, get him," like stuff like that. Like it gets to your head, and it just there's a need to have some type of controlling. I don't force hand presence that is just we do not acknowledge that needs to be there. And I
My thing
think if
though is
we
that like if you add something like that, like there's outliers, and this might be a case of an outlier. Like you don't know the
that's
girl's
about I mean,
background. Like maybe her life or at home is rough and stuff like that, and so she
but it
she
goes to
does
my
this.
point though. That means there's that anger in her. And I don't know if it's fair to call it anger, but just like that type of background leads to more likely odds of violence. So that's why I'm saying like we need some kind of healthy avenues to facilitate that violence. That's why most guys tell men like the most common trope men get, and I think women need this too, but I don't know what that would be for women. But the most common trope for men is go box, go join a sports, an arts, a martial art kind of thing, and whatever that art is, it helps you learn how to one actually fight, defend yourself, and two that goes with
Curb
that
your
the
aggression,
control and discipline. Exactly, like
controlled aggression.
exactly. There's something to that I really don't think we're acknowledging as much as we used to.
So
And
that
because of
actually,
that, we're getting this crazy spike in not just violence, but the degree of the violence.
do you think though? And this is something I just thought about. I was like, do you think though that's an issue within the genders? Like, so as guys, we experience more physicality more often, and we're more likely to train that up. So when you enter physical conflict, yes, we have the higher potential for overall damage, but because we're doing it more consistently, we have more control when it
Structure.
does happen, and so we're able
I
to pull it back down. Whereas
100%.
women, it's probably less frequent, so when it does happen, they there's no control. It just
I
goes
agree.
straight to the 100.
I would
It's
agree with
less
that.
structure. Like with
Exactly. I would
guys,
agree with
when we
that.
end up in altercations or something, like there's a clear thing. If it's sports, it's somebody's talking shit or whatever it is. But it's almost like there's more unsaid rules, if you
Yeah.
will, that
Yeah.
we kind of respect when we engage versus like women, like they don't honestly, unless you play sports, some women do or whatever, you don't have a healthy outlet for your aggression. Because like me, when I play any sport, I'm talking shit. Like there's just no way I'm not talking shit. Like if I block your shit, I'm gonna tell you to get that shit the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? So that's an aggression on its own. And then on top of that, men gauge we have other ways of gauging whether we think we could fuck somebody up or not. So point being, if I'm playing basketball with a nigga and he like 6'4", 6'5", but he's moving very athletically, like got pep in his step, you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing his athletic, I'm like, okay, so he moves quick. He moves before, even though I'm not thinking of fighting him, the second
You're
I do
taking
think
mental
there's an
notes.
option to fight him, or the second in my mind I realize I might be in a scenario where I have to fight this individual, my mind immediately recalls all the information that I've gauged from playing sports or engaging with them in other competitive aspects. To where then you now gauge whether you want to contest or not, or whether you want to engage or not. But like if with women, if you're not doing a lot of sports or a lot of da da da, it's just on size metrics alone. Like you're just thinking, oh, is this girl bigger than me? Will she with me because she's bigger than me or smaller than me? Whereas we slick have like a rundown of like, okay, this person might be quicker than me. This person might be da 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 than me. I don't know.
No, I definitely agree with that. And this is just purely observation and a total generalization. But I've never seen a guy in a street fight pound somebody's head into the pavement like that. Usually, what ends up happening is like they just start hammer fisting, and that's damage also. But that's not concrete into head. You know what I mean? That's just like on top of it. But I have seen, like I said, in my story, I have actually witnessed women pound into it, and I don't know if it's like a mental thing of like, oh, this isn't strong enough because I can't do it, so let me use a tool, and then the tool is just overdoing it.
I think it comes down to ego. And what I mean by that is for men, it's the ego of my fists will be the ones to cause you pain. It is my fists doing the work. And however you want to take that, it's me doing it. Whereas with women, it's more so I want to inflict the maximum damage to you no matter how I do it. And if I need to do it through pounding your head, I will do it that way. That's where I think the difference is. Like men, it's an ego thing. Like it's me doing it. I want you to feel me doing this to you. Whereas women, like, no, I want this to happen to you, and I'm gonna make sure I use the most effective way to make that happen to you.
Too smart for their own good. Fuck. Too smart of a move.
And I don't know if that's just my opinion on the take of my understanding of men and women. Men, we got egos. Women, they when they want something done, they'll get it done.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ego driven, but it's definitely, well, I guess you're right.
Because it is an ego thing. Like
Yeah.
that's why men have these unspoken rules, because it's a display of your masculinity within these guidelines. If you navigate in these guidelines and win, you're a man. If you step out of that, everyone's gonna make fun of you. You're a cheater. You're a coward. You're X, Y, and Z. Like it's an ego thing, 100%. It's how like John even said. It's how we judge each other as men, whether you can or can't fight already from the get-go. Once I meet you, pay attention to these cues. Like, do you got some pep in your step? Can you move? Do you got some strength in that handshake? Are you aware? Are you paying attention? Like, we're low-key sizing each other up all the time. And if you're not,
Because the
then
story,
men can know that. If you're not sizing me up, we are paying attention to that. Like, we know that. Like, oh, you're not ready. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I've been around John growing up, so like I said, I wasn't a fighter, but I've just been around things. This like I just pay attention, man.
so like, damn, I think I really forgot what I was about to say. Oh no, the story's a lot better too. Like, I don't want to go back to my homies and be like, man, I smashed this nigga head on the concrete. They're gonna be like, damn, what happened? If I explain the story, I'm like, damn, I just knocked this nigga out. The story for me, a lot better with me just knocking him out versus smashing his head on the concrete. Because the knockout was like, to Gene's point, I did it. Like it's me that did it. Punched him and nigga went to sleep. Versus, oh, you just smashed
You
a
lost
nigga head on.
control. You
Like,
lost
yeah, bro.
control.
Like
Like,
that's
bro,
not
like what
controlled
happened,
at
bro?
all. Like, bro, you legit crazy. If anything,
I think every talk we've had of a fight where somebody died in it is because somebody punched him, or a guy punched another guy and his head hit the concrete on the way down, and
yeah,
that
hate
was
concrete. Yeah,
the kill move.
Yeah,
that's why
I don't.
Draymond Green caught Jordan Poole.
Yeah, like this incident is extremely tragic, especially since I think she was 15 at the time when this happened, maybe, or maybe she's 16 now. I don't know, but she's 16 now apparently. Like it's just tragic. Like something like this happened. I think the cause of it is one, we have incredibly shunned violence to a degree where I think we're having these crazy extreme outbursts. Like we didn't have school shooters like this back in
To
the
it.
day. Now we got school shooters. Now we got people fighting and wanting to kill each other when they fight. Like people weren't doing, like kids weren't doing this back in the day, and it was more of the wild wild west than it is now. And like, why is this happening like this? I just think we have an unhealthy expression of violence or anger or whatever it is, and we need to find a way that like where it's healthy. Like we're like, okay, we can do this, and this is fine.
I also think it's a combination of like hyper hyper sped human interaction. Like if I went home and you were at school, I could ignore you. You know what I mean? Like my day ended at 4 o'clock when I went home, and I wouldn't see you until 8 a.m. to deal with you. But me going home and having a phone, you can still blow me up on Snapchat. You can still hit me up on like, any kind of social media. There's so many outlets
I see what you're
for
saying.
points of attacks.
I see what
You know
you're
what I mean?
saying.
And so the bullying, I can take it home with me. And so I think for kids, it's a totally different situation now too. And like you kind of have to like be aware of that, especially like us becoming the next generation of parents, man, because it's like they're having to deal with problems that we never had to deal with because we could always just avoid them because of technology. um and so now, like, that outlet of like train yourself up, as well as the mental fortitude that needs to be trained up alongside it, or even just the like put it away, like that in itself is a training in mental fortitude, I think also needs to be brought up.
That's fair. I don't know what else to add on this. I'd like I pointed out, like there's obvious things from the get go. Like this was too far, and also it's being spread because I'm sure there's a lot of other examples of kids getting in fights and someone life threatened. But
When we used to fight in the restaurant, we used to meet up in the restaurant and fight.
I never
When we
understood that.
saw
I
blood,
remember that. I thought that was dumb.
when we saw blood, the fight was over.
Yeah,
We
dude.
started nose leaking.
I remember you doing those. I never understood. I remember when Pedro challenged me, and I was like, "Bro, no."
We had the underground
I think every
fucking
high
fight
school's had
club.
an underground. Like every year, there's an underground somewhere.
Fight club.
I never understood those things. I was like, "No, I'm not." You know why?
Yeah, what?
I will say though, like one
Your
of the
name was
coolest
made in the
feelings.
restroom.
One of the coolest feelings is being in it, and that moment of epiphany where you're like, "Oh, he doesn't cover his left," and then you got a strat like that. I don't know why that feels so good. Like, and
No,
then if it
I
works, it just goes in. You're just like, yes. Like there's just something to it, man. I'm not advocating violence. If anything, do it obviously in a
but that's the
controlled area.
thing.
But
It's
it's
not
just
a
like it's
violence thing.
just
It's an art. Exactly. It's an
yeah.
art. It's technique. It's like intuitive. It's
And
intuitiveness. It's
it
ingenuity.
was
Like
organized. If somebody's head was getting too close to the sinks, or if we was getting too close to a dangerous area, people would jump in. Hey, move back, move back, move back. Like it was just real clear cut. No, I don't remember why we was fighting. We was just in the restroom, and if you laugh too hard at somebody else getting their nose whooped, then you gonna fight. What's so funny? Maybe you. I
I'm
literally
glad.
forgot of my first fight at Sandy Springs. I said, nigga, you.
I'm glad I never did those things because I snap when I get angry. I've only been in like I think two serious moments where my anger got the best of me, and I'm very glad for the people who were around me at the time to snap me out of it. That's why I'm so glad I've never been in those fights because I got my mom's anger, bro, and my mom's anger is once I'm angry, bro, I want to see blood.
Just running on it.
Yeah, dude, I see red. That's why I'm glad. That's why wrestling was a good avenue for me because it helped me navigate that. Because I never wanted to fight, but I had some real anger in me. And wrestling definitely helped with that. Have you seen me rage, John? Because I think my rage moments have been in
Real.
Texas, not with you. Yeah,
I just
it was
see you
before
for
I
real,
met
but
my biggest one was before I met
let
Doc.
me tell you something, Gene. Let me tell you something, Gene. If the stove knob is turned halfway and it's already 400 degrees, do you need to see it's like 800 degrees to know that there's more to go? I've seen calm rage from you, dude. I've never seen I can't breathe, foaming at the mouth.
I called you, remember?
Yeah, I remember you called
That
me. I
the
just wasn't there for it.
yeah yeah.
You do just try to steal the camera.
Yeah, it's a quick story about my rage moment. So a guy tried to steal my DSLR camera, and I caught him, and he tried to act like he didn't do it, and I was cool about it. Like I really was. I was so patient. I was like, dude, it's no big deal. Just tell me where they are and give me back to me, and like we'll go our separate ways. This guy wasn't having it. Hey, Ethan, what's up? We're not we got halfway through. We're sharing a quick story. We're going to the next topic. We used to fight just to fight. It was all about being able to protect yourself, and know that when the day comes to throw hands, you can defend yourself. 100%.
Buddy,
That's low key why
your
John used
name
to.
was made in those restrooms. I'm trying to tell you.
John
The
would
cool
slap
guy,
box me just
the
because he had to
cool,
make sure I had hands because I didn't
oh
participate in
yeah,
those fights. So John, when they would hang out, would be like, "You have to slap box." I was like, "John, I don't want to slap box." Like, "No, you're slap boxing me," and he would slap the shit out of me. And the only reason why I have hands to the degree that I have hands now is because of John, and he would slap the
to
shit out of
get
me,
these
and
to
I
work.
hated it.
You have to get these to work. You have to show people that they do what they're supposed to do.
The
After that,
day
you don't have
John
to do it
stopped
no more.
slap boxing me was the day I joined wrestling.
Correct.
Anyway, to finish that story, so guys took my camera. He wasn't trying to give it back. And then another friend of mine in college actually ended up fighting him instead because I'm aware that I have an anger problem. So I'm sitting there trying to talk myself down and just be like, this guy's not like, I'm just talking myself down at this point. And the next thing you know, I turn around and this guy's full on sprinting at me, gets me in a headlock. And I snap. In my head, I said, okay, he wants to fight. Let's fight. I have a wrestling background, so I picked up his leg, sweep the other leg, slam him to the ground. I got a couple 1-2, and I got him in a headlock. And my goal was to crank. My goal was to crank. And right in that moment, Derek, his girlfriend Kim, and the neighbor grabbed me, and they yanked me so hard off that dude. And that's when I came to, because that yank was ferocious. And that's when the cops came also. But yeah, that was probably the first time I like rage. Like I was like, okay, we're doing this. Like, you want to do this? We're doing this.
So yeah, so Gene almost got kicked out of college.
Probably, technically not, because I was worried about that. I remember talking to my RA at the time. That's what they're called, right? The resident administrators, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to my RA, and because I was obviously worried because blah blah blah, and she told me, "No, you've been fine. You're in Texas, like self-defense." And I was like, "Really?"
Oh, that's
That's
true.
yeah.
That's very true.
And the dude was out of state, which was also trippy.
That's probably why he charged you. He
Self
didn't realize he was in
defense.
Texas.
Nigga didn't know he bought his life to you. That's what he didn't know.
Yeah, I remember I called John, and I was still like, I was raging. I was saying some things to John because I was mad,
He was shaking.
and John was laughing because like, "Is this your first real
Can't breathe.
fight?"
I can't breathe.
All right, let's get to the next topic. I shared that embarrassing story. Ethan said, "I feel that because young men aren't allowed to do things like that anymore, we are seeing them resort more to weapons. It's a lack of self." Yeah, like that's exactly the point I was saying before. Like we don't have healthy avenues of expressing violence anymore, and I think that's very much needed. And not to reiterate
No,
myself,
people are too proud. Before you could lose a fight and still like be around and like hang around. Like
people talk a little
walk,
bit of shit,
like
but you're gonna get
yeah,
your get
people
back.
don't talk shit, but the loss just went in your record. It just doesn't mean you just had to get a W on your record too. You feel what I'm saying? But like now if a dude loses a fight, pride won't let him let that loss go. So now it's, well, I can't fight you. So and then you end up with the bullshit.
Well, the thing I usually think about too is the sentiment that for efficiency, because I've heard people say like, why would I want to fight if I could just shoot or something like that, if I have a gun on me or something like that. But it's obviously like an extreme. um I don't know if, and I get the efficiency of the situation, but to me, as cheesy as it sounds, it's more of an honor thing, where it's like you rely on something that's harder to do so that you have more control of it. I don't know if that makes any sense what I'm saying. I just think that yeah, it's like kind of like it's just too easy to go for the gun, I think sometimes.
Yeah, because I think I agree with that because the sentiment is expressed like it's okay to feel this way, and if you feel this way, you gotta find a way to let it out and not go for the whatever it is. Like, because like you said, there's an honor to it. Like like as weird as that is amongst men, like you can gain some level of honor with fighting amongst like other men. But that's if you're within like these guidelines that we sometimes don't speak about. That's why UFC and all that stuff is so popular, because like there's guidelines with it and you're able to, achieve glory, fame, and honor and blah blah blah. Like there is that to it. I didn't really understand that when I was growing up. Like I remember when Pedro challenged me during that whole like bathroom stuff John was talking about, and my exact answer to him was like, "No, bro, we're friends. I got no beef with you. Why would I want to fight you? That doesn't make sense. No." And I remember they looked at me so weird. It just at that time, that didn't resonate with me.
You're hilarious.
He's trying to be your friend, bro.
No, we ended up becoming really good friends after that.
Nah, maybe he was low-key jealous of you.
I
It
don't
was
think
something
so.
to do with it was something to do with females.
Yeah, there you go. See,
Oh,
he's low-key
It
jealous
just,
of
it
you,
just
bro.
didn't have nothing to do with like Gene's interpretation of the situation. Like there was no like actual situation.
you know what?
He
That
was just
actually
jealous.
might be true because I was a little bit of
He
a
was just
purse. So I was.
jealous that a
Yeah, he was
girl
jealous
liked
you
him.
had some attention that he wanted, and he wanted to let out that frustration for a little bit without actually directly hating you. You just wanted the moment of reprieve.
And I didn't get that. You can ask John. Like one thing I don't do is I don't fight over girls. That's that's been a constant rule over me. And when I don't know, he never expressed that was the reason why. He just expressed like he wanted to fight me in the bathrooms. And I was like, dude, no, like why? We have no beef. This is random. No, we're friends. And then he was like, and he just turned around and walked away. And I was like, that was weird. And I think John eventually told me about it, and I was like, oh, I just won't talk to her anymore. A lot of our interactions growing up have been like that.
Funny.
What do you say?
I said, no, I know that was your bitch, dog.
Yeah, I got a lot of stories like that. Anyway, let's move on. So this is another story. This one's a little bit more crazy in my opinion. If
I was
y'all have
about
not
to
heard,
say this one's crazy.
yeah, this one's crazy. So I'm just gonna read it. So what'd you say?
I said, okay.
Boeing whistleblower Jon Barnett full list of claims the dead 62-year-old made against the firm since 2019 has former employee's body found in his truck. So Boeing whistleblower Jon Barnett was found dead in his truck outside a South Carolina hotel, which the coroner put down to a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the head. However, the 62-year-old's attorney, Brian Knowles, has made sure to call this an alleged suicide, coming just days after his client testified in a lawsuit against the aviation giant, and cops have confirmed that they are investigating further. Sergeant Anthony Gibson of the Charleston Police Department told local media, detectives are actively investigating this case and are awaiting the formal cause of death along with any additional findings that might shed further light on the circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Barnett. The ex-quality manager at Boeing's North Charleston plant, where 787 Dreamliners are built, was found in his truck in a hotel car park on March 9th during a break-in deposition in said suit. Mr. Knowles added that Barnett had just given a deposition to Boeing's lawyers for the case in the week before his death. The company said it was saddened to hear of their ex-employees passing. Oh, okay. The whistleblower was a Boeing employee from 1985 and became the Charleston site's quality manager in 2010 before retiring on health grounds 7 years later. So what were subsequent claims? In 2019, he told the New York Times that he raised concerns over clusters of metal shavings produced when fasteners are fitted into nuts, hanging above the wires commanding the flight controls. He said if those sharp metal pieces were to fall and penetrate the wires, it would be catastrophic. Barnett added that he repeatedly urged those above him to remove the shavings before making his whistleblower complaint, but was ignored and later moved to another part of the plant. A Federal Aviation spokesman said it had inspected several planes certified by Boeing as free of the shavings and found that some metal debris which could cause short circuits and fires. In 2017, the FAA issued a directive requiring that Dreamliners be cleared of them before delivered, and Boeing said they were complying. In 2019 interview, Barnett said that in 2016, he said learned of a senior manager pulling a dented hydraulic tube used as a part of the central movement control system from a scrap bin before it was installed in a 737. He said that the manager told him not to worry about it, but filed a complaint with HR. Barnett also reported other faulty parts going missing, potentially as they were being installed on planes to hit deadlines. Bosses supposedly told him to file his report on the missing parts without getting to the bottom of where they ended up. Boeing responded to this claim by saying that they notified airlines as a precautionary matter, but found no evidence of the dented hydraulic tube after investigation. I'm just going to read the like bullet points, not read them. So the next one is Dreamliner's flawed emergency oxygen systems, faulty parts being deliberately fitted, Boeing 737's MAX 9 on runways too soon. So basically saying that Boeing is not doing their due diligence when it comes to building their planes. Quality control issues, obviously. And in his lawsuit, as this article started out, was found dead. Do we believe that he committed suicide? Let's start the conversation with that. Do we believe that?
Man, I feel like the general public at large just doesn't believe in it because it's like
Him and Epstein, huh?
there's crazy heat
Double
right
suicide.
now on Boeing, and for this dude to just come up dead is wild.
Oh, I said the S word. My bad.
You're good. Our engagement's pretty low. You're gonna get away with it.
I mean, like if we're to entertain, nefarious actions, for me, the only thing I could think of is that like they hired mafia to do it or something like that. Like I doubt a Boeing employee did it.
It doesn't even have to be a mafia. It just has to be someone who does like, I don't know how you would find a hitman, but
Yeah.
you can find a hitman. Remember that one wife who was able to on a Craigslist get a hitman and ended up being an undercover cop?
Yeah, you're right.
Like people find ways to find people who are willing to kill someone for money. It just comes down to what the price is. And I'm sure a well-funded company like Boeing could find someone at a reasonable price too to make sure that it gets done and also looks like a self-harm.
Person wouldn't even know
Yeah.
he was doing it for Boeing.
That's probably true too.
I mean, if anything though, it had like the opposite effect because everyone right now, like I've seen videos on this and other stuff because other people have brought it up, like other independent news sites where it's just like even actually like mainstream news. I saw like an ABC video the other day where it was just like, oh, Boeing's in the news for problem, after problem, and this dude's dead. Like, what the heck?
But nothing's gonna come from it. That's the problem with this. Like I'm sure they did. Like we all know that Hillary Clinton personally, just like the joke Ethan said, Boeing Hillary them because Hillary has what's the number? Like 50 something odd numbers. I don't know if it's less or greater, whatever around that of close friends who have somehow died. Like no, and we haven't investigated this. Like this. Like that's the annoying thing about this is these people can actually do this and get away with it.
I don't know about that.
They're not. This is not going to be investigated because Hillary doesn't get investigated. Like it's so obvious, but we don't have enough. I don't know evidence. I don't know. I don't know what the legal term would be to even pursue this. Like it just like, and this is me speaking
So
from my nihilism, to be completely honest.
I
Like
don't
this,
think it'll be investigated, and I honestly don't think it'll come up as a murder. Um, if it was a murder, I think there's a huge karmic blowback though. Like I was saying, like all the videos I've seen about this, the comment sections are just filled with people like, "Oh yeah? Oh, he really did that, huh?" Like just so much sarcasm of people being like in the know that I'm pretty sure a lot of people aren't going to use Boeing as much anymore. I even saw an article that it was like some like Expedia or something like that. There's a section on a website that lets you pick what you fly in, like what kind of a plane you fly in. And they had to move that to the top of the page because it was being used so often, especially after that panel flew off of that Boeing plane recently. So right now, like Boeing's under a microscope, and this is just not making it any better. Like either he's a genius and he committed suicide with the intent to do this, or maybe he has general like problems. Like maybe he has a manifesto somewhere where he explains why he did it, or it was murder, and the blowback is like just heavy from it.
I don't really see how the blowback could be heavy because I've seen some people say like they're going to boycott Boeing, but it's like, how? How
You
would
don't
you
have a
know?
choice.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Well, there are two
I'm sure
manufacturers.
the
There's Boeing and
plane,
there's Airbus. You can just fly Airbus for the rest of your life.
but how would you know though? Like these airplane companies buy these planes and then they paint them in their company colors.
So
Like
that's
the
what I
only
was
way you
saying. Some of the websites allow you to pick the plane that you take, and that's why that
Let's
ah,
say what
that
type of plane you are on the
but
ticket and when you purchase it.
that's why
I
that
still
widget got moved to the top of the page because people were clicking on it so often because of everything that's been happening with Boeing.
but the issue though is people like, and I'm this may be me being too nihilistic maybe, but people are fickle, man. Maybe for the first couple weeks or months you'll see it, but then once they
Because when
realize that
prices go
man,
down,
the
when
exactly
prices go down,
exactly like it's why they're going to get away with this. Like like yeah, it's brought to light, it's sketchy that this guy unalived himself, people are noticing it and pointing it out, but if we're not willing to investigate the Epstein thing and reveal those names, we're not doing this one. So why would we do this one instead of Epstein? Like that's my thing. Like I
right?
maybe
We
that's not.
actually catching corruption live in action nowadays.
Yeah,
Live on
exactly.
camera and
Yeah,
everything. It's still nothing's being done about it.
like I know
Nigga,
I'm very
yeah,
nihilistic
embezzled.
about this, but
Ain't no
like
telling how much this nigga embezzled from Ukraine. Just watching it happen. Just
we're
Epstein.
we know, and
Watching it
I know I'm
happen.
probably more like
This nigga.
jaded about this,
Watch
but
it
we
happen.
know it's corrupt. Like we know it is, but like we like doesn't bother my everyday life. Like, unfortunately, that's how this works, and that's the sad thing about this. Like, yeah, Boeing's gonna have a month, and then prices go down. Oh, the Boeing price is a $50 cheaper, $25 cheaper. I'm just screw it. Like, I protested for a month. I'm good.
Learn that lesson.
They learned their lesson. Like it, yeah, like yeah. I don't know how to feel about this. Like, yeah, it's corrupt. What he was trying to expose, was it some nefarious stuff? I don't know. Was it just them getting rid of him because he was going to potentially ruin their bottom line? Because this is going to hit them financially really hard. Because it's going to give other plane companies, like let's
I
say
was about to
Delta, for
say it was
example,
no,
to
because
sue.
that could turn into a class action easily.
Exactly. So, like,
Does that also mean that we're getting the truth when planes do crash about the reason for them crashing?
that's valid too. Are we going to pursue this and investigate to find out? Probably not, because of the people involved will not allow it to happen.
Hmm.
I'm just thinking like what might lean the scale against that though is another horrific accident. Like
No, want to know why?
another why?
Because it's the people in charge. They're already breaking laws just to go after Trump. What makes you think they're going to do the same thing for them? Because that's what they would have to do. They'd have to break the laws just to go after these corrupt people, but they're not doing that. But they're doing it for Trump. That's how I know they're not going to do it, because they're the
Not
ones in
paying them.
charge. And I know I'm being vague by saying they, their, blah, blah, blah. But
So I'm
like
not paying
that,
them.
Well, I think like if a Boeing plane crashes in the near future, like in the next 6 months or a year, I genuinely think
Trouble.
it's going to hit their bottom line. There's just too many consecutive things that have happened that I think people will finally hit a point where they're just like,
You're gonna start seeing
no, we got
Boeing
to change things.
commercials.
What's up?
You're gonna start seeing Boeing commercials. If one of them bitches crash, you're gonna start seeing Boeing commercials in a year talking about the new Boeing.
yeah,
I don't think so,
Fly
man.
with
I think it
Boeing.
also like depends on how it crashes. Like if it's another situation with fucking with MCAS, that software that kept the plane from actually picking back up and then put it into a straight nosedive. If another thing like that happens, like that'll be devastating because that's actually proven to be their fault.
if it can be proven. That's the thing. That's why this guy is this law. Why they potentially might have pursued them, actually taking him out. Hypotheticals. I'm not saying this is true. This is my dumb opinion. Anyway, because this might have given that leeway legally for them to other companies to file class action lawsuits if things like that happen in the future. Like,
For all we know, there's some big negotiation coming along where these airlines need to renew or buy new contracts or do something big with Boeing, and they just didn't want this to mess up that deal. Only God knows what was going on. But do I think he unalived himself? No, sir, I do not. And then what? He put himself in the trunk, and then he did it in the trunk. Now, let me tell you something. A lot of people die. I won't say the word die, I guess. A lot of people unalive themselves all the time. Who wants to make themselves uncomfortable and unalive themselves? In the trunk?
Wait, he was found in the trunk?
I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know if that's true.
I heard you say the trunk.
Boeing whistleblower Jon Barnett was found dead. Oh wow, John's right. Boeing whistleblower Jon Barnett was found dead in his truck.
In his
Yeah, okay.
truck.
His truck.
Rock.
Oh,
Truck.
I was like,
Ooh. Okay,
damn,
okay,
he's in
that
the
trunk
trunk.
fucked
I'm
me
like,
up.
bro, it doesn't take
Trunk
fucking
fucked me
detective to figure that
up.
one out.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I retract my statement then. I'm gonna say, you see that shit was gonna blow me uncomfortable and do that is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Most of the time they be on their couch. They favorite seat. Oh man.
Yeah, it's like
Oh, wait. How? What was the cause of death?
a gunshot wound to the head, self-inflicted. The coroner said, self-inflicted.
That must have slipped. They say self-inflicted. That would have to mean it was his weapon.
It's probably the weapon and the way the fire, because usually when you do self-inflicted, the
Projection,
barrel is
projection of the
direct
shot.
directly against the temple or wherever you shoot a skin or whatever, and then whatever kind of blast that causes, obviously it says that's indicative of self-inflicted. So doesn't mean it's self-inflicted. It's just based off the putting everything together. It indicates a self-inflicted wound. Like I'm telling
Yeah,
you,
I
like
get you. I get you. I agree. But what I'm saying is for them to actually still put that self-inflicted, the weapon would have to be at the scene.
oh
They
yeah, I
wouldn't
I
be,
get you. Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah. And so they would have to say that was his weapon. Because the most before putting that out, the most simple thing you could do is run the gun. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they need the bullet. Like what? I
No,
I don't know if
run
I
the
want. I'm
gun.
on.
The
I,
serial number on the gun. See who owns it.
well, he probably owns the gun. What I'm saying though is what could have happened on the scenario is the guy. We're entertaining this hitman hypothetical. We're not saying this has happened. This is us entertaining
Give me
opinion.
that gun. Yeah,
No, no, no,
that
no.
one.
After the fact, he could have shot
Right.
him in the head, and then as long as the bullet's not in the truck or anywhere in the vicinity, if he recovered the bullet, I don't know how he would have done it. He then could have taken his gun out if he had gloves on, shot the gun, so it's
On the
clear
hill.
indication that it's been used. Put it back. As long as you can't trace that bullet, then obviously you would assume that he had the gun or wherever he placed it in his hand or whatever, and then there's a hole in his head, like oh, missing bullet in this gun that's supposed to have a gun. The gun obviously is obvious signs of it has been fired recently. Like that, like that's what I'm saying. Like
Was
I
he
don't think
staying at
he.
that?
That's where my mind went to. If there's a possibility of it being that way, I just thought of some like Sopranos like shit, and
Was he
he
staying at
hit
that
his head
hotel?
and ran off. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because it made it seem like he was there to get a drug deal almost.
I doubt it. Maybe an informant, maybe like he was been talking to
It's
somebody.
just sketchy. If you're meeting in a
Yeah,
hotel
100%,
parking lot,
100%.
you don't have a reservation there.
I'm really just wondering if he had a history of like depression or financial issues or something like that. Like if he spoke to anybody who,
Well, his wife actually came up recently and said that I'm not suicidal. Like she said that
yeah,
he's
I
not
saw that.
suicidal. So
That's what I saw on like regular like mainstream news that his wife said if anything happens to him, he's not suicidal.
but that's not going to do anything though. Like it's sad to say, I'm not trying to be like negative or like an asshole, but like the reason why I thought the story was interesting because to me it proved that people are in power and they're threatened and they're doing whatever they need to do to maintain that power.
Get more deliberate.
It's getting more
More
deliberate, exactly. And we can't. What are we gonna do? Like it's like it's so obvious that this wasn't like John. What is it? Jon Barnett did not kill himself. It's so obvious, but we can't do anything. And how deliberate it is, in my mind, kind of proves a lot of the conspiracy going on right now. Like it's bad. Like it's corrupt. It's bad. Like we have no room to talk as Americans about corruption. We are like the worst of the worst.
Jon Barnett did not kill himself. T-shirt going crazy.
Seriously.
Going crazy, right?
Would you get a double shirt or like Epstein and Joe Barnett did not kill himself, like a Epstein and Barnett did not kill himself thing, or is it got to be a individual?
Well, now you're talking about a series. Now it's a business.
Exactly
Now it's a
right.
whole thing going on. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Ethan
Yeah,
said
I
it's
don't
not
think he
just
did it.
about. Ethan
I
said
don't
it's not
think he
just
did it.
about his whistleblowing. There's also the issue with the 737 Max and other planes that have had engines and doors fly off. I mean, yeah, they have issues, but the problem is them trying to blame those issues on Boeing themselves. And I think the reason why this guy got targeted was because this lawsuit potentially would have given other lawsuits the
Right.
stepping stone they needed.
I
And
think it
I could be wrong. I
revealed a
don't.
lot too. Like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of investigation going on Boeing. Like, all eyes are on them right now. And because I mean, just what 2 years ago they crashed 2 planes and killed everybody on board.
the
The
Boeing thing has
freaking
been a thing for a while now. I feel like more than just 2 years. I could be wrong, but I remember like hearing memes about Boeing for a long time, like the jokes.
actually I hadn't paid attention, but
Yeah, me too, because I don't fly like that.
from what I saw, they used to be like highly reputable back in the 90s. They were like the best company to fly with, but then they got sold to a corporation, and that corporation just maximizes profits and cuts corners. And now the planes are shoddy.
That's me, I know.
Hmm.
I think that's probably the negative side of. I don't know if it'd be capitalism.
Oh, it's
If,
definitely
if
capitalism.
well, if it's I don't know if it's something else. That's why I said I don't know if it's capitalism, but like I guess I don't know what it would be then. Yeah, for capitalism, because once you make something profitable, then you start maximizing that, reducing quality, and I think that's the problem. Is as I don't know if it's as society or as humans, whatever you want to, which one to use, we actually value quality, and I think that's another issue. Is we're starting to our value in quality has gone down. We value quantity over quality, and
Well, I think
that's
it's a
a big
balancing
issue.
act where it's like you need quality, but you also need profit
Fair,
to make money to have a company. But when money is the only thing on your mind, if you're
but
a
that's
plane company, that's a huge fucking problem. Like the
but
least capitalistic company should be a plane company.
but I think but the plane company is a perfect
Like,
an indicator of like on a macro scale the issue as a whole, because I think we're in an unbalanced economy right now, which we prioritize quantity over quality. We don't make quality goods. We like that's not a thing. We're big on quantity, so we take a hit in the quantity or quality to make sure we can reach that quantity to increase income, increase profits, and that's a
Yeah, but
problem.
I
And
feel like the stem or the root of your quantity argument comes from the constant chase of an upward trend. Like you have
no, I
investors and they're always saying we only want to see up, up, up and up, and you just end up leaning that way.
no, I agree with that. That's why I say as like I guess my answer then when I said is I don't know if it's a culture thing or a human thing. It's more of a culture thing. Like as a culture, we don't try to steer towards a quality issue. Or just like or we're just about quantity. Like we got to maximize, while not while
That's the
being
business
okay
culture.
with the quality taking a hit, and that's an
Mhm.
issue that we're not trying to self correct on,
But
and I
that's
think we
that's the
need to correct on.
Mhm.
but that's the business culture. The consumer still wants quality.
Yeah.
The consumer's gonna want as much quality as they can get.
I think that's an issue too. As a consumer, we need to understand too that sometimes quality products require a little bit more of an investment, and that's I just think it's a culture
Oh,
problem.
but
Like we
the
just,
thing is, at the end of the day, too, to your point, they don't. We're overcharging for shit. Like, if we're really talking about like percentage of profit versus what it actually takes to make the item or product that you're selling, we're overcharging.
but that's a problem too. Like it's a valid point. Like I think maybe sunglasses might be a good example. Like Ray Bans, like it costs like $20 to make a Ray Ban, but then they upcharge the hell out of it to $100 to $200 for a Ray Ban, and they could make an even better quality product, and it actually be worth the two hundred
Worth the
dollars
$200
exactly. But they don't
or
do that.
180 or 160. We're not saying it has to be you don't need to make a profit, but the margin of profit is crazy. We just went from I won't say where I work or anything, but I just went from a independent business to a corporation. And when I see the prices of the same thing I was looking at before, crazy. We would sell something that we maybe got for 12, we get it for 30, we'll sell it for $36 around there. Let's just say that. Come $76.
We're in a bit of a rant
Uh,
and kind of off topic a little bit, but like at the end of the day, that's more of a consumer issue because you can't blame the company. If people are willing to pay that, like I probably be like, all right, well then here.
well, the
I can't
problem
blame
is
I can't blame them too much, but
the problem is the corporations. I don't say it's the problem. The thing is, corporations start doing business with corporations, so stuff like that flies. Whereas the corporation has now made itself not in position to take care of any of the independent businesses that may need to feed into the corporation. So now the mom and pop shops can't afford the same item because you feel no need to sell it to them at that price. But then you also bought out all the distributors in the area, so that price is that price now.
basically you're talking about a monopoly. That's what happened. Like we don't have competition anymore, and I think that's may be the answer to the problem. Is if we had genuine competition, that probably would fix itself because people would be like, well, if I want to undercut these guys, I'm going to charge half of what they're charging, and I'd still make a pretty good profit.
Mm.
That I think that's the big problem is monopolies. They're allowed to, and honestly, I think even outside of monopolies, I think what is it called? Excuse me. I think like they're not commingling. What's the term when they like let's all agree to do this price so we all get this profit. I think that's also going on. Like all let's say let's keep using the sunglass company. Let's say like O'Neill, Oakley's, Ray-Bans got together and like we're all going to charge this percent profit, whatever, give or take some, whatever y'all want to do, but we won't go below this number because then we'll all be affected. I think stuff like that also is going on behind the scenes, some kind of alliance stuff when it comes to profits and money stuff. I 100% believe that. That's my conspiratorial mind going.
I still get a dumb question.
And I think that's
Now,
wrong also too.
how are gas prices? How are gas prices come up with? How do you how do you come up with how much gas prices are going to be today? Because
How much it
there's
costs
no
to ship
reason
oil.
that I should be driving 5 minutes away and the gas is 20 cents cheaper or 15 cents cheaper. Because you're not going to tell me it took the truck that much longer to get that gas to that truck. That's why. Like, so I'm confused as to why, just within a state, within a city, within a county, you may see gas fluctuate between 30 cents just from one
It,
side of the county to the other.
I'm sure it depends on location. Like the initial price probably has to do with like getting the gas itself. There's a getting the gas cost. Let's say that's $2. So you gotta charge $2. Now you gotta take into account location, or you're in a city. There's a high demand for gas in a city. I'm gonna charge 250. Boom. Or you're in a rural area. People don't need gas like that. So I'm going to charge 220 or 230, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm out in the country. Like
The
people ain't
prices
getting gas
increase.
like that. People use diesel, not gas. So gas out there is probably like 150 because they need to move that stuff.
I also think the state's resources come into play.
That's true.
Like if you have a state that can contribute its own surplus to its people, the gas is probably cheaper. Because I never understood when I went to Florida, well, not Florida, when I went to California, that the gas was like $8, $9. I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? But I'm used to Texas prices.
Yeah, because I don't think Is there oil in California?
I have no idea. to tell you the
I'm
truth.
not sure. I
I'm
don't.
sure
I,
there is because it's a big country, but I really don't
if
know.
there might be, but I don't think they're known for like mining oil. But Texas, that's what we're known for.
Texas and the
So
car industry, so cars are cheaper here, and so is gas.
yeah. Whereas yeah, that's not what California is known for. So they have to export a lot of oil to California or import a lot of oil to California, and obviously for them, like they're gonna pay it, and because of that, they have to charge that price to make a profit. And
I will
that's
say, if
why
the gas is cheaper in Hawaii, then there's no fucking reason. It's just some asshole in politics is doing it.
yeah, Ethan got a good point too. He said state tax that will also affect
Oh
prices
yeah,
too.
state
That's a
tax.
big
That's the
one.
other thing I was thinking of. I just didn't think if it was. I didn't know if it was that powerful or not.
County tax on the gasoline as well.
I doubt it, but maybe. But I doubt that one. I don't think there's a county tax.
I don't actually consider. I don't know how many times our gas is taxed before it even.
Yeah, we got a little bit off topic there. Great stuff happening. Kids fighting and almost killing each other, if not killing each other. Corruption going on in our corporate world, and as y'all know, in my opinion, the political world too. They commingle. Corruption is corruption. Sad world we're in. Things gotta change. Don't know how they're gonna change, but they need to change. Any last takes, guys?
It's a hippie sabotage concert.
A what? Hippie
Sabotage.
sabotage? Huh.
Mhm.
It's a nice change of
Pretty
pace.
cool.
Sounds good.
Right?
The change of pace sounds good.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. It was cool.
All right, y'all. I haven't showered yet, and I want to shower. I will see y'all next time. If you haven't liked the video, please like the video. Leave a comment.
Goodbye.
Let us know what y'all think. If y'all think this is crazy or not. Share the video, get more people in here.
On this podcast today.
What?
I said dirty, but y'all let Gina stank ass on this podcast today. I can smell you from here.
I was about to say it's more like my armpits, to be honest. My armpits stink. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all on Mondays now. We're back to regular schedule because Doc is no longer doing South by Southwest. We'll see y'all Monday. Peace.
Peace out,
Later,
y'all.
Ethan.
Yo, thanks for making it to the end. We really appreciate it and hope you all enjoyed the show.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and the notification bell to get notified when we post our clips.
Follow us on Twitter at PodcastFDT. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are all fake deep thinking. Check us out, please.
FDT. Peace, y'all.
Peace.